Hi, I'm Jerry.
And I'm Larry.
And we are
Dangerous Dogs. Very dangerous, and we're glad that you're with us today. We're going to be going on patrol in just a few minutes. Where are we going, Jerry?
Well, on patrol, we'd like to visit some of the communities in the Miami Valley because we think there's a lot of interesting places.
I could think of one.
Well,
how about the Oregon district of Dayton?
Why don't we go there?
Let's go there. We're going to
right.
see somebody who can tell us all about the Oregon district.
Dangerous Dogs on patrol.
Well, right now you're on Tecumseh Street, which is considered the oldest residential street in the city of Dayton. And this, Jerry helped me, it was platted in 1830s, I think, originally.
Something like that, 1828 or something like that.
Yeah. And so the canal ran right through where Patterson Boulevard is, and, you know, homes and businesses developed around the water because that was their transportation. So the first blight that this neighborhood saw was after the 1913 flood. You know, the water was 13 feet high. We all have flood mud behind our woodwork and stuff. And people left the neighborhood because they were seeking higher ground, so they moved to Oakwood and Grafton Hill and places like that. And that was the first blight, and it never really recovered from that until the 1970s. There was such a shortage of housing after World War II that most of these houses became boarding rooms. And so with renters and absentee landlords, it just kept going downhill and downhill, and in the 60s it was just about the worst neighborhood in the city. So in the 70s, some people got the bright idea that they wanted to save this, and because it was slated to be demolished by a company that I can't remember the name of it, but in the 60s they wanted to tear all this down, and some preservationists, thank goodness, stopped them, and people started moving in the early 70s and renovating these old houses. And in 1974 it was put on the National Register of Historic Places. Not the houses themselves, but the neighborhood.
District, right.
So after living here 30-some years, I can't imagine living anywhere else because it's such a great community. All of our neighbors, I know all my neighbors, and we just have the best time. We socialize. It's like my lifeline here. So it's a fun place to be.
Well, it's great to learn a thing or two about communities in our area. Let's go on patrol again. What do you say?
We should do that. And how about if you know of a community you would like us to visit, you let us know. Suggestions at DangerousDawgs.com.
Send us an email.
Send us an email, suggestions at DangerousDawgs.com. And note how we spell it, DAWGS. It's on the screen there. Let us know. We'll come take a patrol and check out your community too.
Looking forward to hearing from you. Well, let's switch gears just a little bit now. We're going to talk about what history-loving dogs we are. Actually, we like poetry as well as history.
We are kind of like all-round, well-rounded dogs.
Well-rounded dogs had too many dog biscuits. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, right.
Today, we're going to be talking about one of Alfred Lord Tennyson's poems. It's called The Charge of the Light Brigade, and this is a particular favorite of Jerry's. Jerry, let me, before we actually read this, there are a couple of things in here that probably need a little explanation. So let me run through them and you tell me about them, all right?
Sure.
It begins half a league, half a league, half a league forward. What's half a league?
Well, a half a league is a measure of distance, and it's about a mile or a mile and a half. A league is actually 3 miles, so it'd be about a mile and a half. This is in the poem for a very particular reason. There is a cavalry charge, and the horses go from a trot to a canter to a gallop, and Alfred Tennyson here actually kind of incorporated that, because you can think of it half a league, half a league, half a league. That's the same pace as a gallop, thrump, thrump, thrump. So he kind of incorporated a piece of the actual action into the poem.
It says all in the Valley of Death. What was the Valley of Death?
Well, the Valley of Death, as it turned out, the cavalry charge was into a heavily fortified valley. It was a mistake, but they went down this valley with guns on both sides of them and heavy emplacement in front of them. So he named it the Valley of Death. In fact, we've got a picture of it right here that you can see where on the sides of the valley, all the guns are shooting, and on the front of them, And actually, one of the survivors said when they reached the enemy guns at the end of the valley, it was like you were being shot at from all sides.
It says here someone had blundered, and you just referred to that, didn't you?
They did indeed. There was a mistake in the chain of command. They were supposed to go down a valley over here that was lightly defended. It was a job the light brigade could easily do. But instead, due to confusion, they were sent down the wrong valley that was heavily fortified.
Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left
There you
of
go.
them.
That's
right
exactly
there.
that on each side of the valley, going on down.
Stormed at with shot and shell.
Interesting point here. These were big cannons back in the Napoleonic War type big brass and iron cannons. And there were two types of ordnance that they fired. One was just round cannonballs, and so that would be shot and boom. And sometimes they'd actually make a canister with itsy-bitsy little
Like a
balls,
shotgun.
like a great big giant shotgun. The other is shells. These would come and then burst. They were actually more like we think of a shot nowadays that would explode. So they had both kinds of ordnance being fired at them, a tremendous amount constantly while they were trotting down this valley.
Right through the line they broke, Cossack and Russian, reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. What does this mean?
Well, what happens is the Light Brigade was a formation of cavalry. They had sabers and they had lances. So they got to the end of the line where the guns were. They broke through the line and pushed the Russians off of that area, but they could not hold it. So yes, they were successful in doing their job, but then they had to ride back through that valley of death again.
All that was left of them, left of 600.
And this is one of the really things I think that made this charge so poignant. 670 men went down in that valley. That's according to the roll. About 120 were killed. An equal number were seriously maimed and casualties out of the war. Hardly a soldier didn't come out of that without an injury, the ones that did survive. 550 horses were killed or had to be put down afterwards. It was literally hell, and you can see why it was so powerful. And at that time, people realized what a momentous thing it was that these men looked down that valley of death and knew what they were going into. But it was their duty and their job to do it, and they did it against overwhelming odds. It just sort of plucks at your heartstrings about the incredible dignity and bravery the human condition can come to.
Duty in the face of overwhelming.
Thank you. Obviously,
deadly
I'm not
odds.
poetic, so you've got it exactly right. I've always liked this poem ever since I had to memorize it back in the 6th grade, I think. So
Well, let's hear it.
it's our rendition of The Charge of the Light Brigade, Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death, rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade. Charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death, rode the 600.
Forward the Light Brigade. Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600.
Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell. Boldly they rode and well into the jaws of death. Into the mouth of hell rode the 600.
Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in the air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army while all the world wondered. Plunged into the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600.
Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon behind them volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell, all that was left of them, left of 600.
When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the Light Brigade. Noble 600. Powerful stuff.
It is.
I can see how Tennyson really caught the spirit of that very moment, and people responded to it. It's said that the soldiers back in Crimea, when they learned about the poem, asked if Tennyson would send them copies, and he did. he had like 1,000 copies of the poem, I suppose in a pamphlet format or something, printed up and shipped out to the soldiers. They absolutely loved it.
Quite a tribute to soldiers facing impossible odds.
Indeed. Well, upon that serious history note, what's next?
Well, let's shift gears a little bit and look for something a little more lighthearted.
All right, you got one?
I do have one. Let's try this. Everybody knows about Mick Jagger. He is famously a kind of craggy-faced gentleman, and so this has to do with him. Now, when Mick Jagger insisted that his wrinkles were actually laugh lines, jazz singer George Melly replied, "Surely nothing can be that funny."
Sort of like falling in a crevasse, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Poor guy. That's just the way it worked out for him. I got one here for you. Muhammad Ali was quite a character. In addition to being a heavyweight champion and just an outstanding boxer, etc., he had an interesting sense of humor here. A sports columnist recalled a story of a flight attendant who asked Muhammad Ali to fasten his seatbelt. Ali replied, "Superman don't need no seatbelt." The flight attendant replied, "Superman don't need no airplane either."
True enough. Got another?
I do indeed. I have one from Churchill here. Following an argument, an angry Lord Astor told Winston Churchill, "Winston, if you were my husband, I would put poison in your coffee." To which Churchill replied, "Madam, if you were my wife, I would drink it."
Of course. Katharine Hepburn, so hated making a movie with John Barrymore, famous actor, that she declared, "Mr. Barrymore, I am never going to act with you again." And Barrymore replied, "Yes, dear, you still haven't."
I guess he didn't care for her acting quite so much, right?
I guess not.
Yeah, well, she was screen candy, right?
Yes.
Acting didn't matter.
That was it.
Okay, I've got one more here for you.
What do you got?
Joe Pine was probably one of the original shock jocks in
yes.
Southern California.
Long ago.
Long ago. He was a veteran. He had lost his leg in the war, and he had a prosthetic, which I suppose was wooden in the early 1960s or so. So he's having an interview with Frank Zappa, and he starts off the interview very provocatively by saying, "So I guess your long hair makes you a woman." And Zappa replied, "So I guess your wooden leg makes you a table." I've got one more Churchill one for you.
Okay,
All
let's
right.
hear it.
Churchill at a party and had a few too many of his brandies, etc.
Right.
And a woman accosts him and says, "Sir, you are drunk." And he pulls himself up and he replies, "Madam, you are ugly, but I'll be sober in the morning." Have you ever noticed that dogs communicate in a number of different ways? You know, they come up to you and they poke you, and they'll wag their tail, and it's like you're supposed to know what they want.
Right.
I've heard it said that the word woof, the way a dog says woof, means about 6,000 things, depending on the context. So, you know, but have you ever wondered if dogs could text what it is they would say?
You know, I never really wondered about that, but, you know, that would be one way we could find out what dogs are really thinking. What's your dog thinking right now? Well, what
That's
if
right.
you're at work and your dog has a way to send you a message? That was the concept behind a recent book by October Jones called Texts from Dog, and a favorite of ours.
And we're
Needless to
going to read
say.
some of these to you and let you enjoy them too.
Let's take a look at it. In fact, let's read some. I'll be the doggy. Just imagine my doggy ears here,
It doesn't take much.
and you, of course, and you'll be the owner.
All right, I'll be the owner. All
Okay.
right?
All right. So let's start.
I'm large and in charge.
Okay. Here
Okay.
we go. Here's the dog. Fun day. Ran around the house in a cape. I'm Bat Dog. LOL.
Where did you get the cape?
I think role-playing helps alleviate my boredom. I feel so alive.
Where did you get the cape?
I pulled the curtain rail down. Jesus, why can't you just be happy for me? All right, now here's the next one. I want a pet.
You are a pet.
Can't pets have pets?
And what if that pet wants a pet?
Pet?
I'm terminating this conversation.
Been thinking about reincarnation.
Deep thoughts.
In our next life, you be the dog and I'll be the owner.
Yeah, sure, you can go to work, make the money, and pay the bills.
New plan. We'll both be dogs, but I'll get more girls. It's fun stuff. That's what your dog may be thinking. We'll come back to it some other time and have some more of those.
I think
I'll
we
bet you
should.
can hardly
I think we
wait.
should. Don't you wonder the dog comes up and looks at you and wiggling and wagging their tail? It's like, oh, they could be insulting me and I'll never know it.
Yeah, you never know a thing.
So text helps.
Text does help. It brings clarity.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the show this time. We'd love to have you come back again. And if you have any ideas about some things that we should cover when we go on patrol,
where should they send those ideas?
suggestions at DangerousDawgs.com. You see it on the screen right there. Suggestions at DangerousDawgs.com, or visit our website, DangerousDawgs.com.
Stay in touch. We'll see you next time.
I'm Jerry.
And I'm Larry.
And we are
Dangerous
Dogs.